Welcome everyone. Today I am presenting a professional analytics pitch on behalf of Starbucks, one of the world's most recognized consumer brands. This presentation proposed a data-driven initiative called Spark, a Starbucks personalized AI recommendation and knowledge engine. Over the next 20 minutes, I will walk you through the business problem, the proposed analytics solution, its costs, benefits, organizational impact, implementation plan, and future outlook. My goal is to demonstrate how AI-powered predictive analytics can transform Starbucks' customer loyalty program and personalized marketing from a reactive system into a proactive, intelligent revenue-generating engine. Let's get started. Let's move on to our next slide. It's our declaration, and here we have our agenda. Here's our roadmap for today's presentation. We will begin with a brief overview of Starbucks as an organization first, then move into identifying the core business problem this initiative address. From there, I will introduce the proposed analytics solution, Spark, and explain how it works technically. We will then critically evaluate the costs, benefits, and organizational impact before walking through a realistic implementation roadmap. I will close with a look at the future of this solution and how emerging technologies will evolve it. Finally, all references are available in APA 7th edition format on the last two slides. You can see them there. Okay, now let's move on to our next slide, which is our organizational overview. Starbucks is a global coffee house giant with over 35,000 stores across 80 countries and nearly 36 billion in annual revenue, which is really good. What makes Starbucks more interesting from a data analytics perspective is its digital maturity. 31 million active rewards members generating millions of daily data points and 57% of US transactions already processed through its mobile app. Starbucks already has a foundation called Deep Brew AI for basic recommendations, but significant gaps remain in real time. Hyper personalized marketing, data silos, privacy considerations, and competitor pressure from McDonald's and Dunkin' make this the right time to invest in advanced predictive analytics. Now let's move on to our next slide. So in our next slide, we are going to identify the problem. This slide is all about problem identification. The core problem is clear. Starbucks is sitting on a gold mine of customer data, but cannot fully exploit it for personalized real-time marketing, which is, we all know, not that good. Three interconnected issues drive this. First, generic marketing. Promotions are broad, irrelevant to many customers, and result in declining engagement. Second, data silos, POS app, loyalty, and supply data are not unified. So there is no single view of each customer. Third, there's a decision-making gap. Marketing teams rely on intuition rather than data-driven insights, which is really providing a gap there. Without fixing these problems, Starbucks is leaving significant revenue on the table and risking higher customer churn. If we move on to next slide, then our next slide will explain why it matters to the business. The business case for solving this problem is compelling. Research shows retaining a customer costs 5 to 25 times less than acquiring a new one. 80% of future revenue comes from just 20% of loyal customers. McKinsey estimates personalization could unlock 1.2 billion in additional annual revenue for Starbucks, and 42% of customers today expect real-time personalized offers. The table on this slide shows the shift. Analytics enables from broad promotional targetings to individual level predictive offers, from reactive churn campaigns to proactive interventions. Without predictive analytics and other strategics, other statistics, Starbucks marketing decisions remain reactive, reducing strategic agility in a highly competitive market. Now, let's propose the solution for this problem. In this slide, we proposed an analytics initiative. I am proposing Spark, Spark, The Starbucks personalized AI recommendation and knowledge engine. Spark integrates all customer data into a unified platform and uses machine learning to deliver three types of value. First, it analyzes purchase history, timing preferences, and location to generate personalized recommendations. Second, it uses collaborative filtering and deep learning to power the recommendation engine. Third, it produces actionable outputs, personalized push notifications with predicted acceptance, rates above 70%, daily churn risk scores, managers dashboard showing campaign ROI, and prescriptive pricing recommendation for seasonal promotions. Spark transforms raw data into business decisions at the individual customer level, which is really, really good for an AI. Now, if we move on to our next slide, then I'm going to explain you that how, in technical terms, that how Sparks run or how Spark works. Spark operates across four integrated layers. The data sources layers captures inputs from the mobile app, POS system, loyalty CRM, and social media. These feed into a data lake and ETL layer built on Microsoft Azure and Apache Spark, which handles real-time streaming and governance. The AI and ML engine then runs collaborative filtering, churn prediction models, NLP sentiment analysis, and AutoML pipelines that retain weekly. Now, finally, outputs are pushed to customers via notifications and delivered to managers through Power BI dashboards. The technology stack uses Python, TensorFlow, Databricks, and Azure ML for scalable enterprise-grade model deployment, which makes it works so easy. And after listening to these technical terms, it seems to be like very costly. No, but it is not. I will explain to you in our cost analytics. Now, total year one investment is estimated at 6.4 million, with 2.8 million in ongoing annual costs. The largest spend is on technology and tools, Azure Cloud, Databricks, and Power BI licenses at 2.8 million. Now, if we talk about data infrastructure setup accounts, those are for 1.5 million, while AI and ML development cost is about 1.2 million. Training, change management, and security and compliance round out the budget. Importantly, three factors reduce risk. Starbucks' existing deep brew infrastructure can be leveraged. A cloud-based model reduces hardware capital expenditure, and a phased development deployment approach limits exposure. ROI break even is projected within 18 to 24 months, and that's how we can do the cost analysis of this Spark system. Now let's move on to our next slide, which is benefits analysis. The financial returns are substantial. By year 2, Spark is projected to generate 220 million in additional revenue, growing to 900 million by year 5. Efficiency gains include a 30% reduction in campaign planning time, automated segmentation, saving 15 full-time equivalent hours per week, and near real-time reporting. Better decision making is enabled through churn prediction models achieving over 85% accuracy, and continuous A by B testing. Strategically, loyalty member spend is expected to increase by 12 to 15% and customer lifetime value improves by over 20%. McKinsey research confirms that personalization can increase marketing ROI by up to 800%, which is really, really impressive. Now, let's talk about what are the organizational impacts of the Spark. If we implement this system, then what impact can we see or can we expect from this? Implementing Spark will significantly reshape how Starbucks operates. New roles will emerge: data scientists, ML engineers, and AI ethics officers, while existing marketing analysts shift towards strategic interpretation rather than manual reporting. Baristas will receive AI assisted upsell suggestions directly through the POS system. Process wise marketing moves from batch campaigns to real time micro targeting. And the data, if we talk about the like marketing analytics shift, and if we talk about like data through the POS system, It's going to be process wise. Marketing moves from batch campaigns to real time micro targeting, and agile data operations replace legacy reporting cycles. On the risk side, GDPR and CCPA compliance frameworks must be embedded from day one. Algorithmic bias will be mitigated through diverse training data and quarterly audits. Staff adoption will be supported by a dedicated change champion program, which is, I think, helps people in hiring the better people for a particular role. Now, let's move on to our next slide, which is our 11th slide. And here we are talking about the implementation of the roadmap. So, Spark will implement it across three phases. In the short term, months 0 to 6, we run a pilot across three markets: the US, Canada, and the UK. This involves setting up the Azure Data Lake, building an MVP recommendation model for 50,000 users, and establishing A by B testing. The medium term, months 6 to 18, scales globally, deploys the full ML pipeline, rolls out Power BI dashboards, and completes compliance certification. The long-term 18 to 36 months focuses on continuous AutoML retaining, generation AI integration for dynamic content, and building a full AI capability center within Starbucks. Now, let's move on to our next slide, which is our implementation timeline, grant timeline. This milestone tracker gives a visual overview of Spark's delivery schedule. Data lake setup and the MVP pilot model are the foundation, running across the first two quarters. Staff training and compliance audits are layered in during quarter third and quarter four to ensure readiness before global rollout. Global deployment spans quarter four through year two, overlapping with auto ML optimization cycles. Generation AI integration begins in year two, second half, once the core platforms is stable. ROI reviews are scheduled at quarter three, year two midpoint, and year three, providing governance checkpoints to assess performance and justify continued investments. Green indicates activity delivery, like active delivery, gold marks review milestones. That's all for this slide, and let's move on to our next slide, which is our future outlook. So, what can we expect in the future by this? Looking beyond the initial rollout, Spark has a clear evolution path. In the near term, we expect generation AI generated personalized content at a scale and voice AI integration in Drive Thoughts. In the medium term, Edge AI on in-store kiosks will enable instant personalization without cloud round trips, and autonomous campaign generation will reduce inhuman intervention further. Long term, Spark evolves into a fully agentic AI ecosystem, self improving, privacy preserving through federated learning, and coordinating across supply chain, inventory, and customer experience in real time. Emerging technologies like augmented reality and large scale language models will continue expanding what personalization means for Starbucks customers. That's all for this slide, and next let's move on to our next slide, which includes the critical evaluation. So what does critical evaluation means here? Basically, taking a balanced view at Spark, then we can see that Spark has a strong internal foundation. Starbucks' existing Deep Brew AI, 31 million reward members, and high digital adoption create a low risk deployment environment. The weaknesses are real: data silos, legacy international POS systems, and an initial investment of 6.4 million require careful management for real. Opportunities are enormous: over 1.2 billion in revenue uplift potential and first mover advantage in quick serve restaurant AI personalization. In quick serve restaurant AI personalization, I'm sorry for the gap. Threats include regulatory risk under GDPR and CCPA, potential customer backlash over data use, and algorithmic bias if not carefully governed. Overall, the feasibility verdict is high. This is a strategic well support investment. Oh my god, we can learn so much in our critical evaluation here. Now, let's talk about ethical and risk foundation, which is as important as implementing all these things into our system. Ethical governance is not an afterthought in Spark. It is built into architecture from day one. The risk matrix here identifies five key risk areas: data privacy, algorithmic bias, low staff adoption, model inaccuracy, and regulatory change. Each has a clear mitigation strategy. Privacy is protected through end-to-end encryption and annual audits, which is really good for our consumers and they can trust us. Bias is addressed via diverse training data and quarterly fairness audits following Barocas and colleagues framework. Four ethical principles guide all designs. Decisions. Transparency. Customer know why they receive an offer. Consent first data collection, active fairness monitoring, and clear accountability through a dedicated AI ethics officer role. Now, let's talk about the conclusion and recommendation. Like, what are my recommendations and what is my conclusion on this topic? To summarize, Starbucks has a clear and quantifiable problem. It cannot fully leverage its rich customer data for real-time personalized engagement. Spark involves, Spark solves this through a proven phase AI analytics approach. The 6.4 million year one investment is justified by an estimated 220 million revenue lift by year two, growing to 900 million by year five. The solution is feasible, ethical, and built on Starbucks' existing infrastructure, which is really impressive here. My recommendation is straightforward. Approve the Spark Phase 1 pilot today. It is a low risk, high reward strategic investment that positions Starbucks as the global leader in AI driven customer experiences. Okay, at the end, let's talk about the references. As I say that you can find the references in last two slides. These nine references represent the peer-reviewed academic foundation of this presentation. All the published between 2013 and 2021, covering data analytics, machine learning, digital transformation, customer value, algorithmic fairness, and AI strategy. Key works include Davenport and Harrison competing through analytics, Kumar and Renards on customer lifetime value, Vohoff and colleagues on digital transformation, and Barkas and colleagues on fairness in machine learning. Provost and Fevcat provide the data science method grounding while Actor and colleagues support the phased implementation approach. All references follow APA 7th edition formatting, including DOI links where available. Now, there are